Okay, Kendra, I think this is a great time for us to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Aderica McLean. I am a senior associate here with NCAP, working with Weatherization, Workforce Development. I am so excited that you all decided to join us for this third webinar in the series of Advanced Weatherization Strategies for lowering household costs. And today's webinar is titled The Softer Side of Weatherization, How Soft Skills and Client Relations Can Increase Impact and Improve Program Outcomes. Before we get started, we want to hear where you all are from. So I am going to ask everyone to type in the state that you are representing, but don't hit send yet. We're going to do a chat blast. So type in the name of the state that you are representing today. We want to see where everyone is coming from. And then when I say go, then we're going to blast the chat, but don't hit it yet. I'll give everybody about 10 seconds to type in what state you're representing. And 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, it's going fast. I see Missouri, California, Indiana, Maryland, New York, Nebraska, Washington, Idaho. Wow, New Jersey, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Illinois, Washington State, Tennessee, Michigan, Nevada, South Carolina. You all are coming in from all over the country, and we really appreciate it. So, today we have a very dynamic speaker here to share information with us. VaShawn Johnson is coming from Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, where he is an awesome training manager over there. He's going to share more about his background with us. A little housekeeping. You all may have heard or clicked the button that say this meeting is being recorded. We will send the recording link out to everyone. Once this webinar concludes, you will also get a copy of the slides. So the recording link and the slides will be sent out after this webinar concludes. Also, if you have questions throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A feature. Type those questions in the Q&A, and we will answer those questions so that everyone can see the answer to those questions. Without further ado, I am going to hand it off to our awesome dynamic speaker for today's webinar, VaShawn Johnson. But before doing so, I do want to say this is being brought to us by Department of Energy. So VaShawn, welcome, 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 and thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you, Aderica. And hello to everybody. Aderica is not from Illinois because she used the S at the end of the word. So you don't do that. It's Illinois. All right. I'm sorry about that. I'm VaShawn Johnson, training manager at Indoor Climate Research and Training, which is a division of the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission in Champaign, Illinois. I'm the training manager, and I've been in weatherization about 13 years, going on 14. I hold several BPI certifications. You can see the screen, they got my certifications listed, most of them. They're missing multifamily building analyst, but I probably didn't let them know. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so these are our learning objectives. Briefly, We want to, by the end of this presentation, and I want you to understand client relations and the client experience. They're two different things, both very important. Establishing the foundational principles and initial application through QCI, quality control inspections, and exploring how to navigate soft skills and weatherization. Next slide. All right, so why does client relations matter? If you look at these three pictures, I would ask, oh, you could put in the chat, I'm gonna ask a question. What's the prevailing theme when you look at these three pictures? I give it about 10 seconds if anyone wants to respond. And if not, it's okay. I think the prevailing theme is the clients are usually older, they're usually well above 50 or 60 years old. Their ability to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week is behind them in a lot of cases. And sometimes by the time they become that age, they're on a fixed income. So that's the prevailing theme. And when we think about what it takes to live in a comfortable house, to live in a safe house, and one that you can afford to live in, it becomes a true challenge for people in this age group. Okay, so this is why client relations matter. Can we go to the next slide? All right. So increased client satisfaction. Happy clients are more likely to recommend your services. One of the, could you hit the next bullet point? Improve program reputation. So happy clients are more likely to recommend your services, and then that leads to positive word of mouth. Thank you. That leads to positive word of mouth and builds trust in the community. And not only the community you live in, if the adjacent communities to your community have a program like this and people are happy, that news is going to spread into your community, which means you will be able to advocate for these services and you know that they work already because you're getting so much positive feedback. Um, Now, when you got a good relationship with the contractors and they getting good, dependable materials and they don't have a lot of turnover in their company, you have reduced complaints and conflicts. All right, so clear communication and empathy with the client can prevent misunderstandings. You got to let the client be involved. They can tell you more about the house because they've been living there a long time. You can educate them on some building science ideas and techniques, but they can give you a lot of information about the house. So let them be involved. See which room doesn't get warm or doesn't get cool or which windows always condense because we know how to correct these things. So hear them out, listen to them, and you'll have less complaints and conflicts because you're doing what they like and they would like you to do in their home. I think it's another bullet point. All right. Better project outcomes. Engaged clients, as I was just referring to, can provide valuable insights and ensure the work meets their needs. Sometimes someone had a knee surgery or something like that, so they need a handrail, but they don't need any handrail. They need one that's very stable, very sturdy, that can hold their weight. And if you let them explain it to them, and to you, then you can provide these things to them, and then they'll be happy, and they'll tell everybody in their family and everybody on their block. And this keeps the program going. Because as you know, we don't advertise. We don't have commercials. We don't send out flyers. We don't have advertisements on bus benches or anything like that. Our program survives off word of mouth. So if we got positive word of mouth, it's a great thing. All right. Next slide. All right. Alignment with program goals. Positive client experiences contribute to the overall success and sustainability of the weatherization program, as I was just discussing. All right, we can go to the next slide. Building strong client relationships. Next slide. Just let it all populate. Bring it on. Thank you. Positive client relations are essential for a successful weatherization program. I mean, the clients are our livelihood, right? Without the clients, it's kind of unfortunate in a sense that they are in a position where they need our help. But by us being in a position that we are, it's a beautiful thing to be able to provide the help. Okay, so you'll meet people in all walks of life, all types of financial situations or educational backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds. So focus on respect and communication, all right, and remain professional at all times in all interactions with the client because they're paying close attention to your professionalism. Okay, so understanding their journey helps tailor your approach, right? So it's good to get to know the client. If you see trophies on the mantle. You figure out what sport that is. You have a conversation about it. If they tell you they're in school, ask them what they study. Why did they decide to study that? And if they were professional, ask them about about their career. Because when you open up to the client and you let them explain their world to you, they become a lot more comfortable with you and they open up more and you get to learn more about them as well as the house that they live in. All right, so we call that proactive communication, all right, because it can prevent many issues. We won't be assuming, we'll be just basically making our report based off our education and the things that interest the client. All right, so this helps your role in building a strong client relationship, which is vital to the program's success. Next slide. All right, supporting your client relations efforts. Next slide. What we want to see is the needle in the green all the time. So you have to understand the client's experience. All right. And the client's experiences, they got a process to go through. There's a lot of people they talk to in order to accomplish getting their house weatherized or getting a healthy home evaluation and having these measures implemented in their home. So they have to be patient. They have to take days off work and they always meet new people throughout the process. Whoever they meet ends up being the face of the program. So you have to be extremely professional and cognizant of that. Next slide. All right, so you got your basic fundamentals. If you pay attention to this slide, there's a lot of positive words there. You got honesty, ethics, code of law, integrity, compliance, uh, the doctor and the medical reports. So all of these things are what's going through the client's mind all the time, okay? And they constantly meet new people trying to figure out how to put their house in a situation where it's comfortable and it's healthy. Next slide. Out of those foundational principles, we got respect and empathy, clear communication, professionalism, active listening, transparency, and problem solving. These tend to be the most important when we're dealing with our clients. So let's go through these real quick. So with respect and empathy, you want to treat every client with respect and dignity and acknowledge their concerns. As far as clear communication, we want to provide timely updates. We want to explain technical terms with simplicity so they understand exactly where you're coming from and what you intend to do to their house. We got this phrase we use called worst case depressurization. And many times I tell the client that I'm going to set the house up in worst case depressurization and they panic because of the word worst. Well, in weatherization, all it means is that I'm trying to take as much air out of the house as possible to see if the hot water tank will draft under those conditions. And if it doesn't, it helps me figure out which step that I took that prevents it from drafting, and then I know how to counteract that so the client never ends up in a situation where they bring in carbon monoxide into their house. So I got to change worst case depressurization with that client to um, take all the air out of the house to see if the hot water tank drafts under that condition. So sometimes you have to explain things a little further so they're not nervous. All right. And listen to their questions. They're always gonna have questions. You measuring everything, you all over their house, you in their attic, you in their foundation. So they may have questions. Usually when you get in somebody's attic and come out of it, they ask you, did you see a bag of money? I don't know why, but I've heard that question so many times. I know I did not see a bag of money. All right. So professionalism. All right. So your appearance, your language, the words you choose to use, and your body language, your punctuality, all of these things bring about professionalism. All right. Active listening. All right. It's about your tone of voice, the client's tone of voice, and the body language of the client let you know if they're comfortable, if they're apprehensive, and if they're afraid to ask for something. So sometimes you have to kind of nudge them and let them know it's okay. This is why we're here. We're here to make it better. Okay. Transparency. Be open and honest. about the process and the timeline of how long this is going to take and the different people that they're going to meet. Like the intake person should let them know you're going to meet about 4 or 5 other people in order to accomplish this. All right. And any potential changes that may happen in the timeline, make sure that you communicate with the client early on. All right. Next slide. This is the process. This is everything that the client goes through in order to get weatherized. They got the intake process where they fill out the application and they learn about the program. And then the assessor or the auditor shows up to their home and they do an assessment. Usually takes 3 to 4 hours in an average single family home. All right. And then the work gets scheduled with the contractor. The contractor shows up. It takes them a day or two to scope out the work and another day or two to gather the materials and get them implemented into the home. And then you got what's called the follow-up or the quality control inspection. So the client has to deal with all of these people, okay? The contractor may be there longer than anyone. So this is why I asked about contractors earlier, ladies, because sometimes they bring their radio, they bring their beer, they talk loud, they use swear words in the client's house, and we have to get to the point where we're completely professional throughout this process because sometimes the worst things happen, become the face of the program, become the thing that the people tell everybody else in the neighborhood, the people at church and the people at work about. So we want to be professional. We want to make sure that clients are comfortable and we want to make sure that they're happy with our services. All right, so let's go through the process slowly. Next slide. You got the intake process. So be welcoming and patient. Clearly explain eligibility requirements and the application process. Answer questions thoroughly as the intake person. Next slide. And then you got the assessment, or what some of us call the audit. Okay, so when you get to the client's house, you show them your ID, you explain the purpose of the audit. We're gonna basically make sure that we put your house in position where it's not costing as much in utilities to live here. And then we're gonna make sure that we ensure that you're safe by installing smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors and doing combustion safety tests on your stove, your hot water tank, your furnace. We're gonna look at your dry event, make sure that it's sending the carbon monoxide outside as well. Change your lights to LED lights and figure out ways to save you on water as well. So this is the process of the audit. Involve the client in that process, though. Like I said earlier, they can let you know what rooms are cold, what rooms are warm, what windows condense. Okay. Clearly communicate your findings and propose measures to the client. So, you know, be open. The client is probably gonna just let you do your job, but always give them an update of what you found and what you can approve, or something that's gonna go on your hazardous condition notice. So they'll always be aware of what you're seeing and what you're doing in their home. Okay. Next slide. Right, then we got the work scheduling. Keep realistic timelines and keep clients informed of any changes to the timeline. Be flexible and accommodating where possible. Many times clients have to drop a child off at school, or you're still working in their home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They have to go pick up their child from school. So let's be flexible. Take a 15 or 20-minute break, let them go pick up their child and try to get back to work when they get back home. Okay, next slide. Then you got the installation and implementation of the measures that we determine that we're going to put in the house. So you got to treat the client's home with respect. Make sure you clean up after yourself every day. All right. Communicate daily progress or any disruptions to progress and answer questions about the work being done. But at the end of the day, be sure to clean up anything that wasn't at the house or on the grounds around the house before you showed up. Leave the client's home and the neighbor's home uh, intact. Next slide. And you got the follow-up, or what we call the quality control inspection. So these are our checks and balances, right? You got the assessor goes out and decides what measures go in the house, and then you got the contractor that come install the measures in the house, but are they installed right? Is it the right material? Is it the right measure? So we have to send a quality control inspector as checks and balances to make sure that we're doing everything to program standards and that we're providing the best service that we can provide to the client. We do all the same tests that we did in the beginning to make sure the client's safe. We also make sure that everything on a work order is implemented in the home and the workmanship is up to standards. So explain how to operate any new equipment. Sometimes we got the smart thermostat people get, and they could turn their heat off even if they at Disney World. They could turn their air conditioner on even if they're at church. You got to show them how to do that, all right? Because these are energy saving tips. Offer a point of contact. So give them your card. Make sure they got your phone number and your email address to communicate with you about any questions they may come up with later. All right. Make the client aware of any of the quality control inspection and the possibility of future inspections for quality assurance. Here in Illinois, we get to the quality control inspection part, and then later on, the state wants to go evaluate 15% of our work. So then the client may have to answer the door and let the state go through the house to make sure that our program is up to standards per state guidelines. So that's a fifth or sixth visit that they would have in their home. So explain all of these things at intake so there's no surprises and no shocks. Right. Next slide. All right, navigating challenges. Now you got a decision to make when you're in a situation like this. I see the success flag over there, but this guy that's suspended in the air is a risk taker. This guy scratching his head is gonna turn around and go the other way and find another way to get to success. And that third guy in the back, he really believes in himself. Okay, but what you got to do is you got to be realistic with challenges. Okay, you don't want to do things that's going to hurt you, the client, or the house. All right, or the program for that matter. All right, so don't be risky like these two guys. Be like the one in the middle, and let's figure out a logical way to get to where we're trying to get to in these clients' homes. Next slide. Soft skills and weatherization. Sometimes clients get excited, but you got to stay calm, okay, and professional. Even when faced with frustration, you're trying to run a blower door test, and at that point, somebody in the family wants to keep going in and out of the back door, in and out of the back door. It's going to frustrate you, but you got to stay calm, okay, and just calmly ask the person to let you finish this test. It's going to take you somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. Then they can go in and out the door all day. All right. Listen actively. Let the client express their concerns fully, especially when you get to the quality control inspection, because this is when they wrapping up how they feel about the whole program. And like I say, anyone that's in their house connected to the program is the face of the program. So you got to show empathy and understanding. All right. Acknowledge their feelings. Focus on finding solutions. Work collaboratively with the client to address the issue. Know your limits, know what you can do, and when you have to elevate things to a supervisor. Sometimes the client tell you something about somebody else in the process prior to you being there, and it's completely outside of how we operate. So you can go talk to your coworker and ask them, don't put me in a situation to hear a story like that again. But then if that keeps happening, you go to the supervisor and let them know this person needs some soft skills training. Okay. And document everything, even that conversation, and keep a record of interactions and solutions that you come up with for the client. Next slide. Okay, so use standardized communication templates for appointment confirmations and progress updates. After a while, you have frequently asked questions for the clients, things that most clients ask. Okay, like can you give me a new screen door? Will you replace my windows? These are questions that you would get from the client. But understand something, even if you're the QCI, if you're the auditor, they ask the intake person that they're going to ask everybody in line for what they want. So make sure you know your program rules and what's an allowed or disallowed cost so you can communicate clearly with the clients. Have training materials on communication and conflict resolution in your company because you will have a conflict, whether it's between the client and the contractor or whether it's between the contractor and the quality control inspector. Sometimes we have to resolve a conflict in order to proceed. All right. Have ways that the clients can give you feedback, whether it's surveys or comment cards or email address that they can leave a feedback, but always have a way for them to be able to express themselves and open up to you. All right. Internal protocols for handling client complaints would be the surveys or the comment cards or the email address or something like that, or even the supervisor's phone number. All right. But have a way for the client to communicate with the company if anything goes wrong during the process or after the process. Next slide. Oh, that's my last slide. I'm sorry, I didn't know I was coming up on my last slide, but my name is VaShawn Johnson. My email is vjohnson@ccrpc.org. My phone number is there. This is my grandchild, Imani. She's the joy of my life right now. But thank you very much for listening. If we have any questions, you can put them in the chat or you can come off mute.
Thank you so much, VaShawn, for sharing these nuggets with us and ideas of how soft skills show up in weatherization. We featured a article on you yesterday. NCAP did the Energy Partnership, where we learned a little bit more about you and how soft skills came to be a part of your training. As people are completing the closing poll, can you share with us a little bit more of your story of why you feel soft skills and weatherization go hand in hand?
Well, Aderica, I think they go hand in hand in any industry. But weatherization for sure, because we're dealing with all walks of life, and then we're inside of the client's home, where they're the king and they're the queen most of the time. And you compare the soft skills to the hard skills. So what are the hard skills? Running the blower door, getting the measurements, recognizing what material or hazardous material you may be around. Worst case, the pressurization, testing the stove, hot water tank, and furnace. These are all our hard skills. This is why we got the job, because we have the ability to do that. But soft skills is more of a thing that happens in your heart. Okay, it's more of a thing because it's different with each client. I mean, whatever their situation is, you have to quickly recognize, not be judgmental, even if it doesn't smell the way you like a house to smell. You can't react. You can't let the client know this is how you feel. So basically, soft skills all pertain to making sure that the client is enjoying the most positive and constructive experience that they can experience. And it has nothing to do with the actual person that works for the agency. All right. And the way we feel and the way we want things to be. That's last on the list. It's not even on the list. So I think it helps because what it does is it prompts people to tell their sister, to tell their mother, to tell their friends, to tell their husband or wife, their coworkers, or anybody that they communicate with, people at church. And this helps the program progress, right? So
Right.
it's not as much, I got a new furnace, I got a new hot water tank. That's not what people really talk about when they talk about they had weatherization done. It's the people that they dealt with. Is more of the story. So if we can be respectful and have empathy and understanding for these people, what's going to happen is positive feedback for the agency or the program, and then we're able to grow. But if we look at it like, well, they don't have to pay for these things, and I just want to get the day over with, then they're going to know this is how you feel. And this is the message that they're going to spread to other people. Like, I honestly have no idea what they did in here. They were here for a few hours and they're gone now. And that doesn't help the program. So ultimately, the clients are our livelihood. As I said earlier, it's a shame that it's kind of hurtful sometimes that they are in impoverished situations, but that's the very reason why we have a job. And what we should do is what we can and what we're allowed to do with the funds that we have in order to improve the quality of their life while ensuring their health and safety.
And that is so true. And what you just said reminds me of something that you said when I was interviewing you for the article. You mentioned that you look at the clients as if this was your sister, or if it was your brother, and you want to treat them the way that you would want someone to treat you,
Right.
which speaks to us as community action agencies overall, really just helping to make people lives better, helping people and changing lives. One thing that also comes to mind that I'm reminded of is when you think about having a the heart that shows up in this work. And when we think about how soft skills intersect with weatherization and making an impact to the client and just overall program outcomes, there's one story that you shared with me that I did not write about the senior citizen that you encounter at one of the VaShawn homes. I'll put quote unquote VaShawn homes. Can you share with us one, what a VaShawn home is, and then also share a little bit about that story that you told me about? I think her name was Miss Phillimore.
It's full of love.
Miss Phillilove. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's a touching one. Okay, so at Vashon House, thanks, Aderica. Vashon House, when I was younger, I I, uh, I worked for a company in Chicago called CETA, and I was good at the weatherization energy auditor thing, and it got to the point where if it was a big house, if it had more than one attic or more than one foundation, if it was like 3,000 square feet, or if it was some unique features, it would be a house that they sent me to. And I didn't know. I mean, it's you always by yourself. You know, you just got a truck, you got some equipment, you get an email, you get an address, you go get the job done. But one day I was in the office with everybody else, and somebody else got a Vashon house, and they screamed it out loud, like, "This is a Vashon house." And I was like, wait a minute, I'm renting. So I have no idea what a Vashon house is. So I walked over and I looked at the picture of the house and I analyzed real quick why he said that. It was a big house. So that's a Vashon house, one that's big. It's got more than one floor, probably made out of more than one material, got an addition. Something's different about it. And that just showed the level of confidence that my management team had in me. They just didn't inform me that that's what they nicknamed the house, a Vashon house. But hey, it's job security, right? So Miss Fullerlove, was a client that I went to see. Uh, the good thing is that you did ask me about the Bashan house because this thing on a weekend when we do overtime, we get to pick the house that we do. And I'm not gonna pick a Bashan house for the weekend, you know. I just want to make some extra money. I want to help some people and keep the program going. So I picked a very simple raised ranch and figured I'd be done in a couple hours, maybe three. Miss Fuller Love was sitting on a couch when I got there, and she was about 83 years old, African American lady, and I could tell she lived alone, and I could tell she was lonely. Uh, so, like I say, when I walk in somebody's house, if you got bowling trophies or if you got basketball trophies or if anything that shows me this is what you're interested in, I'm gonna speak about it to kind of break the ice. It's kind of like my first level of soft skills when I get to your house. I look around and I'm observant, and whatever you're interested in, I'm interested in. I want to hear about it because I'm gonna do a lot of talking while I'm in this house, and I want to listen to you first. Your demeanor, how you speak, and how you react to me. So Miss Fullerlove didn't have no trophies, but she had this gigantic picture. Um, but she didn't have it hanging. It was kind of leaning against the wall, and it had 12 people in this picture. There was six gentlemen at the top, and there was six ladies at the bottom. And you could tell this picture was very, very old. It was black and white, and you could tell it had been blown up. And I knew Miss Fullerlove was in this picture, so that's what I'm gonna use to break the ice. I said, "You in this picture? Where you at?" She made me guess what she was. And I guessed it. And I told her, start telling me about these people. She said, well, these are my siblings. These are all my brothers and sisters. This sister did hair, this sister did the sewing. And I said, well, what you do, Miss Fuller Love? It looked like you got everybody working. She had a brother that worked on cars, a brother that kept the house and the plumbing and electricity, okay. And, everybody had a task, it seemed. And she said she had 14 brothers and sisters. She should have had 15, but her mother had a hard time with the 15th child, and she passed away. recently after. And then once her mother passed away, all the kids got spread out all over the country. A couple was in Canada, Jersey, Arizona, Georgia, you name it, Michigan. They was all over the place and they really missed each other. Now this was before the internet, okay? And this was before Facebook and Instagram, and when you could just look somebody up, you get like 100 VaShawn Johnsons. You find one that look like me, you message me, and we can continue communicating with each other, right? It wasn't like that, you know? So what they would do is they would put ads in the paper of the city that they in, and somehow that's how they were able to reconvene. So out of that 14 people that got scattered all over the place, 12 of them were able to reconvene, right? And then they older now, so they start to pass away. They start to die off. And a month before this inspection, her baby sister passed away, and she was the only one left here. Everybody else is gone. And she asked me, why did they all leave me here like this? I didn't know what to say. I honestly. So I was like, you know what, Miss Full of Love, I'm gonna go outside and do some measuring and take some pictures, and I'll be back in about 20 or 30 minutes. Okay. So I went outside and I did that. And I'm trying to think of something to tell her because I know it wasn't a rhetorical question. I could tell. And it's just not my skill set. But you gotta tap into your soft skills, right? So I go back in the house and she was in her bedroom. I was grateful of that. I went and did the assessment, got everything done, and it was time to fill out the hazardous condition notice and get some signatures and initials. So I told her to come out the bedroom, and we went through that process as I'm putting my equipment back in the bags. And she asked me again, why did they leave me here? Okay, I can't ignore again. I'm gonna shut down the whole program. I am not using my soft skills at all today. But I told her, I said, you don't get it. I said, right now, the greatest celebration that ever happened up there is being prepared. You know, you're gonna see your mother, your father, all your brothers and sisters, even the two that ain't in this picture, and you're gonna jump for joy. You know, she kind of calmed down. She let me finish putting my equipment up, and I'm a little bitty guy, and it's a lot of equipment, and I'm trying to figure out how can I carry all this stuff in one trip. I couldn't, so I put half of it on the porch, and I picked up the other half, and I got to the door, and I looked back at her, and she was looking at the floor, and I said, "You gonna be okay, Miss Fuller?" She said, "Yeah, baby, I'm just waiting on my celebration." So I went and put the equipment in the truck, and I sat in front of that house probably about 20 or 30 minutes. I just couldn't drive off. But I had to go. I had to go. I can't stay forever, right? You know, basically, how that came out of me, how I was able to respond to her, all I could say is by the grace of God, because you're not prepared for this. I'm prepared to do measurements and test stoves, hot water tanks, and furnaces. I'm prepared to do a blower door test, you know, but you have to be prepared to deal with people as well and understand if it wasn't for the grace of God, it'll be us and our family in that situation, you know. And we all one decision away from messing everything up sometimes, one paycheck away, one car accident away, so you got to be grateful and you got to be aware of these things and understand that there are no such thing as big eyes and little U's. We all here together and we should be doing what we can and saying what we can and being supportive of each other enough so we all feel some sort of contentment.
Hmm. And helping to have a impact beyond the technical side on someone. Thank you for sharing that story. We do have let me just address the closing poll really fast. It say, what is one soft skill you're committed to improving? And the most responses came 30% say communicating more clearly. Um, but we had everybody that answered, in some areas. So we appreciate everyone taking the poll and just being committed to working on improving in an area of your soft skills. We do have a question in the chat from John. What would you do with a client who wants something that's not cost effective and they treat the crew bad due to this?
Wow. Now that's a good one because that's usually when I'm not there. But let me think. If I was the supervisor that was called in a situation like that, I would figure out what the energy conservation measure, what the measure is that they would want me to install that I'm not allowed to install. See, a lot of times it's a difference between what the client understands. They sometimes they think we just don't want to give them something because we think we know so much. But a lot of times it's that we're not allowed to give you this, right? So like the example I gave you with a screen door, I'm not allowed to use government funds or any one of the funds to order a screen door because it doesn't save energy. So it has to be a health and safety item. It has to be something that saves energy, right? So knowing these two things will help me have a conversation with that person. But then sometimes it's just like they want windows, right? And you know, we typically don't like to replace windows because they don't save a lot of energy. Look at any house, it's about 15% window space, 85% wall space. It costs less to insulate the walls and you get more energy savings out of insulating the walls than you do replacing the windows. Now, the windows do make the house more beautiful and more valuable because of what the eyes can see, but they don't save energy, right? So that conversation is a little more tricky. So what happens is the client will respond and say, well, you gave my sister windows. This program gave my sister windows. And you know me, I say, how much money your sister owe you? How you know my sister owe me money? Because if I owed you money, I'd tell you we bought the windows too. You know, I'm being honest with you, man. I'm not allowed to get you the windows, and usually I make them laugh like that, you know. But you never know. I mean, that was a good question. I appreciate that one. Now I gotta go formulate a good answer for that one next time I hear it. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you, John, for that question. And then we have Randy who raised their hand. Randy, let's see if we can get you off of mute to ask your question. Um,
Or they could type it in
or
the
if
chat.
you want to type it in the chat, that will work as well. Let me see. Moment, I am searching. Um, I do not, Randy, I don't see you to take you off a chat, and I know we've lost a few people, but if you are here, feel free to type your question out. I will go and look back at the Q&A and see if there are any more questions. A lot of people saying thank you for sharing your story. Um, they appreciate your delivery style and so on and so forth. Oh, Randy said that was an accident. Okay, Randy, no problem. Um, well, VaShawn, thank you so much again for sharing with us how soft skills can have a lasting impact and increase program outcomes. We do have a few more slides before we let you all go and end this webinar. Kendra, yes, thank you. So we would love for you all to subscribe to our Weatherization Plus newsletter. You can scan this QR code to do so. And there's also going to be a link added to the chat feature that will take you directly to how to subscribe to our Weatherization Plus Energy Partnerships newsletter, where you get all the latest and greatest information around weatherization and energy. Next slide. We also have a new and improved website. We would love for you to connect with us there as well. We feature all of our webinars on our website. We provide the latest and greatest information that comes from DOE and other things related to weatherization and energy. So please, if you have not checked out our website, please do so. It's a wealth of information. It should be one of the first stops you make when looking for technical assistance and training or just more information. Next slide, please. I am really excited about this. My coworker Keisha is one of the leaders, lead facilitator for WAP Pro. We are entering into our third WAP Pro cohort where we are working to train the next generation of leaders in weatherization. We are currently accepting applications for people who are interested in participating in the next cohort. It is a competitive process. The application will be open until April 30th. Scan this QR code to apply. If you would like to nominate for someone at your agency who you feel would benefit from this outstanding training, it is a 6-month program where we meet for 2 hours virtually once a month. And we learn more about weatherization, the soft skills associated with it, working with crews and contractors, all about the process of doing intake and assessment, all the things that VaShawn named today. We go in depth about that with WAP Pro. So please consider applying to be a WAP Pro cohort member. Next slide, please. And again, this was the third webinar of our 4 series webinar for February that's going to go over into March. We have another one coming up, which will be next week, March 4th, and it is titled Advanced Weatherization Strategies, Household Energy Costs, and it's going to be key opportunities to increase the use of light heat and weatherization. So if you have not registered for that webinar that is going to take place next week, please do so, where we're going to go more in depth about light heat and utilizing those funds in conjunction with your other funding. That's going to take place March 4th next week. Scan that QR code and register now if you haven't done so. And next slide. Just want to share with everyone, if you are eligible for BPI credits, attending this session today does qualify for 1 BPI continual education credit. So you will receive that credit following this webinar in the next few weeks if you are eligible for BPI continuing education credits. So that's another awesome reason to attend these webinars, so that you can continue to accrue BPI continuing education credits. And next slide. Finally, again, we want to say thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your attendance. Again, VaShawn, thank you so much for what you have shared with us this afternoon about soft skills, how they intersect with weatherization, the impact that we can have by leading with heart and continuing to make a change, helping people and changing lives. Please connect with us if you are not doing so at energy at communityactionpartnership.com. Our lovely director is out of the office today, but you can also connect with her at mharnos at communitypartnership.com, or just reach out at communityactionpartnership.com for any additional questions or insight, or to connect with anyone on the team. We hope that you all have appreciated this webinar today, have learned something, and are committed to leading with your heart and bringing your soft skills to the forefront when working with clients. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great afternoon. Bye.
There was a question, do you have to provide your BPI number to get the CEUs? No, you do not. Just your email address will be included on your attendance registration, so that will suffice.
Thank you, Keisha. And Kendra, if you haven't done so, can you stop recording?